Hi everybody, I'm Heath, and in this video we're going to be talking about proficiency as dice. This is an optional rule for 5e Dungeons & Dragons, but more specifically we're going to be adopting an alternate version of this alternate rule in light of all of the information that we've learned from looking at our number tables from the D20 and the 2d10s and the 3d6s and all of those that we've gone over in other videos so far. As people have commented in the comments section that some type of random number generation and then a modifier is not the only way that you could handle skill in a game. There are definitely other ways that we could look at. I mean, people talking about dice pools, which is another thing I would like to look at, but also a potential alternate rule from the DMG where proficiency bonuses are not expressed as a bonus but are expressed as further dice. So yeah, there are lots of different ways that we could potentially go with this and come up with a system that is more in line with what any particular group of players at the table would like to have for their game. So here is what the proficiency dice variant rule says. So this optional rule replaces a character's proficiency bonus with a proficiency die, adding more randomness to the game and making proficiency a less reliable indicator of mastery. Instead of adding a proficiency bonus to an ability check, an attack roll, or saving throw, the character's player rolls a die. The proficiency die table shows what die to roll as determined by the character's level. Okay, so here we have, if your proficiency bonus is +2, for instance, you're rolling d4. Once it gets to +6, you get to d12. Now, as you might be able to tell from the previous videos I've made on this channel, I'm not going to be a fan of implementing this variant rule as it stands into my games because of this sentence right here. The proficiency dice variant rule adds more randomness to the game and makes proficiency a less reliable indicator of mastery. And that is not what I think the game needs. I'm trying to reduce the amount of randomness in the game, and I certainly wouldn't want to make your proficiency something that's less indicative of mastery. I think it needs to have more influence over the game. But as I was thinking about this in light of what we had learned in previous videos, and we're saying one of the problems that we've got is that we've got this large random range to generate, whether that's generated by a flat D20 or some type of bell curve system, and then we have this relatively modest modifier that's being added to that. Our random number, however it's generated, is overwhelming our bonus, and that's what's causing the game to become more random. So as many people have written in the comments, what we need to do is to have more of a static bonus and then come up with some way to reduce the amount of random range. And then we did take a look at doubling the proficiency bonus in a previous video, which I think can definitely help, and we looked at some of the ramifications of that. But I was thinking about the proficiency die right here, and I was like, well, now what if we adopted something like this? And in particular, what I'm about to call the inverted proficiency die rule, variant rule here, to move the determinative factor in success or failure back to the players and away from a random generation, but you still get to roll dice, because, I mean, rolling dice is fun. There are elements of the dice that the dice are going to capture because you're not considering everything at the table. You know, because some people have said, just move away from this completely and just have the game master determine success or failure. Well, I don't want to go that far. I mean, that's not what I'm trying to do. I mean, you could do it, but that's not what I'm trying to do. Okay, so here we've got levels 1 through 20, and then this is our proficiency bonus by the rules as written, 2 through 6. And we did talk about potentially doubling the proficiency bonus, so I've got a column here that talks about the doubled proficiency bonus. And then I've got the proficiency die over here as well. So I thought, what happens if you take the doubled proficiency bonus as a static modifier, and then you add the proficiency die to it? And that's what this range over here is. So if you're trying to accomplish a task and you're level 1 through 4, and then you've got a proficiency bonus, a doubled proficiency bonus of 4, you're adding d4 to it, that means that you can potentially generate a range of numbers between 5 and 6. This is interesting because Dungeons & Dragons tells us that 5 is a very easy task. The DC of 5 is a very easy task. So this does mean that on the floor of things, levels 1 through 4 characters, assuming there are no negative modifiers to go with this, can accomplish very easy tasks. Now, of course, the downside to that is they can't accomplish easy tasks, so this would require some modification. But then you go all the way down to levels 17 to 20, where your doubled bonus is a 12, and then you have a proficiency die of a d12, which would generate a range of 13 to 22. Now, I think there's potentially something that we could be onto here, but I will note that when you're increasing the proficiency die, like we're doing here, well, as you go up in level, your character is going to feel less and less consistent. And to me, that's a problem with this increasing die, because I'm trying to make the attributes of the character more significant. But a lot of people will tend to like this. Now, notwithstanding the issue of we got to get somehow at least to get to a 10 as a level 1 to 4 character, but notwithstanding those issues, something like this is something that people will tend to like. Some people will tend to like because they're saying, well, as your skill goes higher, and once you get to 17 to 20, not only are you, guaranteed to pass a DC 10 check, you're getting a flat 12 to start with, but then you also should have the potential as you get higher skilled to be able to roll higher and higher and higher and higher. And so that is what a system like this would be doing. If you're not very skilled, the chance that you're going to get very high is not very good, and it's impossible to get past an 8. As you increase your skill, not only are you increasing that floor that you've got, but you're also potentially allowing you to hit higher and higher numbers. The consequence of that is that it's going to feel more random as you get higher, because you can kind of know what to expect when you are a level 1 to 4 character or a level 5 to 8 character, when you've got bonuses of 4 and 6, and then you're rolling a d4 or a d6, because that random range isn't all that great. And of course, using one die of this kind means that every number is going to be equally likely to be rolled. By the time you get up to level 13, when you're throwing a d10 and then a d12, you're increasing this range of what your character can be expected to do. And you're going to feel less consistent because the range that you could potentially randomly generate has gotten larger. Does that make sense? So I can definitely see something like this being used in some systems, and some people liking it for the reason that it expands your possible range as you increase in skill, but other people will not like it because your character feels less and less consistent the more skilled you get. And I would want to reverse that. And that's where this idea of perhaps the inverted proficiency die comes into play. So what if instead of rolling a larger and larger die as you get more skilled, you roll a smaller and smaller die? Because being a more skilled character in that instance means you're relying on luck less and less. You're taking away randomness and you are adding your own skill in, which means your characters will not only get more skilled, but will also feel more and more consistent in their rolls as they progress in level and in power. On the face of it, that sounds like something I would be interested in. So what if we invert this proficiency die? So we're still going to use the doubled bonus as the floor, kind of. This is the bonus that you're going to get because of your skill. And then we're going to add an inverted proficiency die, which means that at the low level, you roll a d12. And then as you get more skilled, you're doing d10, d8, d6, d4. In this case, we're decreasing the level of the die by 2 each way, but we're also increasing the floor by 2. So you're getting less and less random as you go, and you can generate higher and higher numbers. Now, this means that you're going to feel more random at low levels. Some people will be okay with that, because some people definitely in the comments are like, I want to be able to have that slight chance that I can succeed something really difficult, and so I don't care that it's random, I just want to roll the dice and see if I can possibly make it happen. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that from a playstyle or anything like that. So those people are probably going to potentially like this low-level kind of thing better. So here, if we're saying this range here is our double proficiency bonus plus an inverted proficiency die, that allows a character at level 1 to 4 to again have this floor, so as long as there's no major penalty, they're still going to be able to accomplish very easy tasks, but that some kind of random number generation through this D12 could potentially throw them as high as 16. So they could potentially accomplish medium difficulty tasks, that's DC 15. It does mean they can't get all the way up to 20, DC 10, but it does get them to potentially be able to do medium tasks if they throw the dice well enough. And of course, we're also getting past the easy tasks as well. And so that goes all the way down to levels 17 through 20, where you're getting a flat 12, and by the time you hit 13, level 13, you can now pass easy tasks without even rolling, assuming there are no negative penalties. By the time you're 17 to 20, you can even accept negative penalties and still do easy things. Then you're throwing a D4, which means you're not adding as much. So our range here on all of this, I think this is really interesting, caps out at 16. But the minimum that you can possibly roll as a 17th through 20th level character is a 13. So as you're getting more powerful, as you're getting more skillful, you are increasing the minimum level that you can roll, which I like, and you're decreasing the randomness in your roll as you go, making you feel more and more consistent as you level up. Now, I tend to like that. Now, there are some difficulties here that we're capping out at 16, and we might want to cap out at 20. Oh, and by the way, an advantage here is that we're compressing the spread, because when we were looking at rolling a d20 but doubling the proficiency bonus, we were taking a look at what the low end and the high end of our difficulty classes could be, and I was kind of saying that we need to increase, in a system like that, we would need to increase our nearly impossible task, perhaps up to 45. And some people have mentioned that in the comments as well, that, well, we could do that, but if you're going to be rolling a d20 for your random number generation, and then you're going to be adding larger and larger numbers for your skill to it, then we're going to be dealing with larger and larger numbers through the game. That doesn't necessarily bother me, but it will bother some people. But at least in this, we are, I think, doing kind of what we want to do, but we're still kind of keeping our number range compressed. We're not dealing with 30s and 45s and things like that. We're still dealing rather low in the range that people are used to dealing with inside Dungeons & Dragons. Okay, now going back to this cap of 16, this could potentially make the Game Master's life easier, because someplace, I believe in the D&D rulebook someplace, it does say that if you just used 10, 15, and 20, easy, medium, and hard for your DCs as the Game Master, your game should run just fine. You wouldn't have to worry about 25s and 30, which is the original near impossible task. If you just said, is this easy, medium, or hard, 10, 15, or 20, your game should run just fine. Well, if you wanted to simplify that from the Game Master's perspective, I think this would allow you to do it. The Game Master just always has to make a call, easy, medium, or hard. Easy, medium, or hard. Okay, but we have this cap of 16. There is an easy way to fix that. And you could fix that with a bonus, or you could fix that with another die. So let's say that we did the inverted dice, but we also rolled another d4. So maybe we say here that one of these d4s is just always the random inherent nature of the game, the game world, what's going on that nobody, regardless of their skill, can get around. And then there are other elements of the game world that you can increasingly control as you get more skilled. And that's the original die, that first die in the column here, which is getting smaller as you go, as your bonus is getting higher. Adding that d4 to this does get you to a 20, and I think that's pretty interesting, especially if you're trying to integrate this into Dungeons & Dragons generally. Now, there are other things you may have to do, and some people will write in the comments that there are things that I haven't considered in all of this, and that's true. In any particular video, my goal is not to comprehensively analyze, any one of these impacts across all levels of D&D or all things you'd have to consider or anything like that. Most of the videos are kind of constrained to one topic. But I do think it's very interesting that now the inverted dice range plus the doubled bonus does happen to get you to 20, like is the case in Dungeons & Dragons. So a lot of people might be happy with this. And when I'm looking at this range and what's happened, I do kind of like it. My initial impression is to like it. We've got a floor that means that our characters can do very easy things. We've got high chances that our characters are going to be able to do easy things. By the time you hit level 9, then easy tasks, provided no negative modifiers apply, become no obstacle to you. But we never get to a point where medium things are something that should always be passed. Even the level 17 to 20 characters still have a small chance of failing. It's not a big chance, but they could still potentially fail a medium check, but chances are they are going to pass medium checks, and they are going to be able to pass hard checks some of the time, and most frequently of all of the other characters. Now, that gets us to 20. I think I would like to be able to add 25, because we've been talking about DCs here, but this could be armor class. I mean, I wouldn't really distinguish between the two in the game. We're trying to roll above a number, whether that's some kind of DC for a task, or whether that's an armor class to hit a monster or something like that. I don't know that I would distinguish that. So I think I would still try to have 10, 15, 20, and then also 25, and say that my DCs, my armor classes, or whatever, are not going to go above 25. That could still potentially be okay here, because we're not considering ability modifiers here. And so chances are, I would think you would still want to include the character's ability. And so here is our ability table right here, and the bonus that it provides according to the rules as written, and then if we were to double that bonus as well. Now, some people will ask, now, wait a minute, could we do ability score bonuses as dice, especially those people who really like to roll dice? Well, I guess you could. I guess we could use our proficiency die and then come up with what the ability die would actually provide. But I don't think I would do that. I think I would say the ability score is going to provide a bonus, And maybe you don't double the ability scores. Maybe you just keep the ability scores as they are. That would mean that by the time you have a 20 or 21 in a ability score, you're getting a +5, which would mean that if you're high skilled and you're also adding another +5, then you could hit that 25 number. It becomes easier to hit that 25 top number if you are doubling it. Some people might not mind that though. So what do you think about this? I think we should probably break this down in some tables because I'd be very interested to know what kind of effect this is having based on the kinds of things we've looked at previously. But please let me know what you think down in the comments. They've been really great and have helped to extend the discussion. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and all of that jazz. It really helps a lot. But also, please check out The Cultists, the web series on this channel about modern-day D&D playing Lovecraftian cultists who just want to worship Cthulhu in a world full of people who just don't understand. Season 1 is on the channel now. But also, please check out my YouTube channel. I have over 150 videos on tabletop games and the fantasy genre. If you've enjoyed this video, you might enjoy many of them as well. I look forward to seeing you for them and many more videos to come.